This is DC, powered by people and ideas, where the community comes together, voices are heard, and decisions are shaped.
So I want to start by saying, welcome home.
Connecting you to what matters and to each other.
How you doing? You know, what's the tea?
I'm Lorenzo Hall, and this is the DC Beat. Welcome to this special edition of the DC Beat. Good to see you. I'm Lorenzo Hall. So as you know, this is a crucial election year in the district, and we've had a number of current city leaders and those on this show and those hoping to lead. But when we're having these conversations, we often forget some pretty important people, teens and young adults, the city's future. Yeah, so we've all seen the videos of teens out late at night accused of assaulting and robbing people. That led to a juvenile curfew and special curfew zones. DC is also trying to figure out how to keep more kids in school. Get this, last year, chronic absenteeism and truancy was near 40% district-wide, with even higher numbers for high school students. So many decisions will be made by DC leaders impacting their future, and, you know, they should have a say, right? That's why for this episode of the DC Beat, I want us to hear from young people in our city and let them sound off to see what they're going through and what they need from us adults and how we can fix these issues together. Shauna Boone, a junior at Dunbar High School who's graduating early, and Samir Young, a junior at Washington Latin. Thank you both for being here with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Letting me interrupt that homework and practice time. So we got to have an important conversation. So you guys hear us adults talk about DC youth, if you will, a lot. What do you hear when we're having those conversations, and how does it make you feel?
You want to take it?
A lot of the time, I feel like we are portrayed as sometimes negative, and we do negative things. Like, for example, at the Coolidge game, we do cause riots, but I just feel like that's because not a lot of us get opportunities and are like guided the right way. And I feel like they view the majority of teens as bad, but it's not, they don't really see what they go through and how they really feel.
Yeah.
I agree with that. A lot of times people group together DC teens as very rambunctious, very chaotic, but most of all, they like to paint us as dangerous and as a group. But a lot of us, we're just trying to really get to college or get out of high school so we can start actually living our lives to the point where people actually begin living their lives in high school because they don't think they're going to get a chance elsewhere.
Yeah, Samir, I want to touch on something you mentioned. You said that adults don't understand what teens are going through.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? What's happening?
So I feel like a lot of the adults try to understand us, but like once you leave the house and you're at school, it's a lot that go on from the house to school to inside of school. And it's like you go through a lot of emotions throughout the day. And it's like you're constantly thinking, you're constantly critically thinking, and you have a lot of things. Like it's like you're trying to get through the day. Like some kids can't even get through the day, and they skip class and they try to keep a smile on their face. But a lot of the time, like not a lot of teens think it's cool to like go to a therapist or talk about their feelings. So they like bottle it in and they don't talk to their parents or anything.
So what does that mean? Like, go deeper for us in terms of what teens are going through throughout the day, because I think we're looking at it and we're like, oh, they're kids. What could you possibly be dealing with? You know, you don't have bills to pay right now. You know, you're at home. Like, what is it that you're going through? This is for you, Samir, and you, Shauna, as well. Whoever wants to pick it up.
I feel like we go through a lot of stress, right? A lot of us we don't want to disappoint our parents. So we try to like carry the weight, especially getting good grades, going to school, or even doing good at football games, basketball games, whatever extracurricular they do. It's like, it's a lot of weight on your shoulders, and then it's like a lot of classes, a lot of work, and then your social battery runs out throughout the day because you're really at school for 8 hours, constantly socializing. And some people just don't understand, like that takes a lot of work. Like,
I would agree with what he said. A lot of times teens deal with mainly stress, but then we also have a lot of mental health issues, which is some of the biggest causes of crime related to the youth. A lot of people have undiagnosed anxiety. A lot of people have undiagnosed just mental health issues caused by outside factors like their home life. And so when people don't address it or like to address it, because a lot of times it's more of a taboo topic, when you don't address these issues, they just come to result in what we sometimes see in teens today. And so in school specifically, you don't really have that outlet because a lot of times you don't have stable admin that stay in the school building longer than a school year. And even when you do, it's not for your comfort, but rather just for the school to have somebody. And so just being able to really have an outlet is what people are missing a lot of times.
So it sounds like you're saying even in school, building those relationships with adults that you can trust is tough because they're just cycling out so frequently?
Yes. At Dunbar High School, since my freshman year, we've ran through 3, I believe, principals. And with every new principal, we've had admin swap outs, teacher swap outs. And so this year I'm getting to know a whole different domain of people because we've gotten rid of majority of our deans and swapped it out. We've lost a lot of APs who are really close with the students to go on to, of course, bigger and better things, but it still somewhat hurts because although you know they're not leaving you, it still feels as though they're leaving you because you don't really get to interact with people like that because there's no point really because you get close with somebody, you build that bond, and then the next school year they're gone. So you really don't want to reach out like that.
How do you both deal with those challenges?
So,
Just of being a teen in DC.
So a lot of times being a teen, it comes with that weight you already feel. So you kind of grow to get used to it over time. You know what not to do. You know what you need to do and you know what not to do. You have what your parents teach you. You have, well, for current times, what you have to do, you have to carry things like bonus IDs. You have to carry different things. You have to know not to put your hood on in certain places. You have to know not to put your pockets in like stores and stuff. And so growing up in DC, you get to know these things and they come as like a second mindset because it's something you're used to. Because it doesn't just start as a teen, it goes from your youth, from when you were younger, all the way up.
Yeah.
Definitely agree with Shauna. Growing up in DC and just going to school in DC, you definitely have to have like a different awareness of what's going on, especially if you're of darker complexion. Like you can't always get away with what white people do, right? So you really got to be aware. You got to understand like you're more obligated to act right in public than other people. You need to focus on yourself, not do dumb things, and yeah.
Yeah. Do you both feel safe in DC at all?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Why sometimes?
Because it is a lot going on in DC. Like it's definitely a crazy city. Like most times actually, because you never know. You turn the wrong corner. You never know what's going to happen. You on a metro. It's a lot of crazy things that go in the metro. Everybody's loud. You really gotta understand everything that's going on because you never know. You might see like a person who's on drugs or like has a mental issue. You might see somebody running from danger. You might see somebody chasing somebody from danger. You might see a fight. You just gotta like.
And that's before you get to school, potentially.
That's
as you
mentioned.
Before and
any
after.
any day of the day, time of the day.
I agree with them. There's a lot of stuff you go through. I mean, I feel safe sometimes. I'm lucky enough to have a ride to go certain places. My parents are. I'm very proud of that. But when I look around to my peers, I see that a lot of times they have to navigate going through certain things. Like they have to navigate different people with mental health issues, different people who harass them on the street. You have to deal with unreliable transportation. And so when you go through all of these things before, sometimes during the school day, especially for field trips, and then after the school day, it's a lot. However, we're still expected to complete classwork timely, still do these things.
Those obligations.
Those obligations, which I can understand, but still we have to take into perspective what each student is going through.
What's the most mind-blowing thing you've seen, either going to school or going home from school? That many to choose from?
Okay, to choose from, I wouldn't say, so I go take transportation before and after school, so I don't really have any experience there. However, I will say coming to school from a field trip, we actually arrived in the midst of a protest apparently. And so around the time we had just arrived back from a program with GW, and there we came with our business school and we proposed different programs and things like that. And so when we returned, we were met with a lot of chaotic protesters who were protesting against abortions, and so they surrounded the students basically and were blocking our pathway to get into the school building because we arrived in the back way because that's the only way our buses are able to access the building, and we had to walk around our outside path to go to the front. And so along that entire path, they were full of people who kept pushing into us, harassing us. They threw a lot of words at us. And then they also actually printed out money that had a lot of explicit details on it. They weren't real money, but it had explicit details on it featuring Trump, Eagles, and abortion-related topics. And so that was a lot to deal with because it was also around dismissal time. So around like 3:15-ish, we had to deal with that. And then the school, when we finally entered the school building, there was our safety patrol. There was also our security guards who said they tried to reach out to the police and call them, but they said they were on public property, but they were clearly on Dunbar's property. So that'll be my most craziest experience.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot. What?
I'm not gonna lie, it's not that bad.
Okay.
But like the most thing I'm gonna say is like some kids fighting other kids from a stop to a stop. Like they get off at one stop, fight, and then it's like a group of kids, and then one of them yell out they got a weapon. So.
Boy, so you all hear about this juvenile curfew, clearly. Do you think it's a good thing? Is it a bad thing? How does it impact you?
I don't think it impacts me or any of the teens, honestly.
Okay.
It really doesn't do anything. It's like people are still teens are still going to be outside regardless. They're just going to be more cautious, most likely, because they still, at the end of the day, they want to have fun. They want to be outside. They want to have freedom outside the house. Now, the curfew, I feel like they did it in a good like mindset, but it's definitely a different way you could approach it.
I agree. Again, I take private transportation, so I don't really have to. I don't go out as much, but I don't go out even lesser than my peers would because we don't trust DC, basically.
Wow.
And then
that was loaded.
Yeah, it's the basic way to say it because when you have all of these curfews put in place, you have all of these protective services in place. It's no reason for you to go outside, only for you to be approached by a person who claims to be an officer and wants to see your ID, and then you're followed around. So it's like, is there really a purpose to go out at that point? That's what I really do. I mainly go out for food, or if there's an event, then I'll go out with my parents. I never go out alone, even if I'm with friends, because there's no telling what could happen, not necessarily with a teen, but something else could happen.
Yeah, so I mean, where do teens hang out? Is there a place to go with that said? Like, it sounds like you just go from school to the house and maybe out with family?
Majority of the time.
There's no...
Yeah.
It used to be a hangout, but like they all got shut down, or the National Guard is there preventing us from entering. Like Six Flags, a lot of people went to Six Flags up in Bowie.
Oh, that was a spot.
Yeah, that was
For a long time.
I personally don't like roller coasters.
You know, like, you can't do roller coasters?
I can't do it. Like, I'm not gonna lie. But that was like they put restrictions on that for teens, and they just shut that down completely. Union was definitely it's still a spot. But
Union Station?
Yeah, Union Station.
I mean, people, there's nothing to do in there.
It's kids just ordering food, having like just chilling.
Just a little hangout, okay.
Just a little hangout. Gallery, Navy Yard, just like it's no like center spot. It's just they go to places where there might be a little fun or where all the kids go.
But a lot of those spaces, they're not really geared toward teens. So if you go in, is there people looking at you weird? Do you feel welcome?
I mean, people definitely look at us weird. They definitely look at us in a hostile way.
Yeah.
So, but at the end of the day, we just want to have fun, and they shut down everywhere we could go. You know, there's not really any programs or like events that all the teens could go and have fun. But another thing with like the events and the kids that make these events, they're also very dangerous. Like, a lot of things go up in Navy Yard. Like this one time, it was like this. it's not a kickback, but it's like a fake block party without
Permits?
Yeah, without permits. And you know, a group of kids saw another group of kids, and it escalated. And then they started bringing out weapons and started shooting, and that's another reason why that's why people look at us in a crazy way. So.
I would say, and that actually connects back to what I said earlier, I would say growing up in DC, it sort of builds you to have a sort of maturity. It gives you a second shell, especially when you're out in public places, because it came to a certain point in time where wherever you go, you get that stare, especially being a teen in DC, you always get that sort of look like, uh-oh, something's gonna go down, or uh-oh, what are they about to get up to? You're sort of immediately perceived to be somewhat of a threat to the people in the area. And so you sort of just become aware of that and keep moving, because you can't really change a person's perspective no matter how different you are. And so, yeah, and then with the different locations, I mean, it's not necessarily a designated spot to hang out. It's just wherever you want to. It's not the point of having fun and hanging out. It's just the point of being around your friends, being outside of the house, having that sort of independence you wait for when you become an adult, being able to get a little bit of that independence as early. It's what people a lot of times chase.
I mean, how does that make you feel? I mean, this is your home. You should be able to just go out and have a good time and also be safe while you're doing it, right?
Yeah. I mean, like Shauna said, we grew up to like, it's just gotta be okay. Like we just gotta work around it. So that's.
So what do you tell adults? I mean, city leaders who are watching this show and trying to figure out what to do with teens. You know, they're going to be talking about it during the election cycle. They always talk about juvenile curfews, making sure there are a lot of restrictions in place. So what would be your message to them? What do you all need?
I would say two things. One, generalizing does no help, because when you generalize a certain group of people, what good does it make? Because when you generalize teens in DC to just be very chaotic and to just be dangerous, then you don't really get to hear our perspective. You don't get to hear our thoughts. You don't get to be able to be put in a spot like this where you get to speak and share your perspective on things as a person here. And so the second thing would probably be doing mass punishments or group punishments, as I say. It did no benefit in school, so I don't understand why it's being done now as well. And so those would be the main things I would say.
Yeah, what's on your wish list?
I feel we just need more opportunities to be heard and actually listened to. Like, for example, Marion Barry, you know, he did a lot of summer programs and gave us things to do. And like, we actually liked it. Y'all seen it from like an adult. Y'all seen it from y'all seen it from an adult perspective. Y'all gotta see it from like one of our kids, I'm a kid perspective. Y'all need to have like a representative for like what we actually see and what we actually want. Cause we aren't as mature as y'all. We aren't as developed as y'all. So like y'all really have to understand what we're saying and where we're coming from.
And I would definitely say programs like the M Street Advisory Program, where you learn about the history of M Street, you learn about your community and the history behind it. We actually got to talk with council members and give our perspective on certain problems in DC. Like my group's topic was food deserts, and we talked about Ward 8, we talked about the different lack of need towards Ward 8 communities. And then you also have programs like the Chancellor Student Advisory Board Committee, where students from all over DC get to reach out and actually talk directly with the Chancellor and have their voices heard on different policies. Like last year we had amazing presentations. We had presentations on school lunches, which we actually saw a change in. We had a project based on the different things related to the phone policies. And although we weren't able to get exactly what we've actually made progress, because who did that presentation actually made it on to speak further at more board meetings. And then my group, we actually spoke on school security and school policing, and I actually mentioned that story I told earlier, and I actually got to share it with an amazing program called PAVE, Parents Amplifying Voices in Education, and we got to share it with the board and the Board of Education, and we got to let our experience be known so we could really reach out. So just having programs where teens can just speak and not worry about the judgment we face on a daily, it's really helpful.
That's a good point. Hopefully they will listen moving forward. And with that said, I mean, you are both stars. So the people who are watching this now, what are your future plans? What can we expect from you in the next couple of years?
You want to go?
Honestly, college, scholarship, I plan to do either electrical engineering or finance. Yeah, you're going to see big things.
You're gonna see big, oh, no doubt. I believe that.
Well, I was lucky enough to have been blessed to get the Trachtenberg Scholarship. So I have a full coverage scholarship to go to George Washington University. And so there they have a 4+1 program where I could do 4 years as a mechanical engineering major and then do 1 year and get my master's in aerospace engineering. And I plan on doing that. And then from there, I plan on getting experience in the industry, of course, and then get to a point in my life where I'm able to actually create my own tech startup and focus on space sustainability and go from there.
I love all of that. I love the ands, the ands, the ands, the ands. It is all mapped out. I gotta say, I am so proud of both of you.
Thank you so
thank
much.
you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for sharing your vision and your hopes and dreams with us as well. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
So Shauna and Samir are part of a program here in DC called College Bound. It's an academic mentorship program that works with students from more than 50 public schools in DC. And you know, the goal is simple, to help prepare young people in our community for higher education. And you can see right there from them, it is working. 100% of College Bound students graduate from high school and are accepted into college. All right, when we come back, meet another DC student who says he wants to change the world right now. So there are some DC students who are not waiting until they are older to make sure their voices are heard. These are the students serving as representatives on the DC State Board of Education. Right now, I want you to hear from Issa Walreed, who was among the hundreds of DC students who walked out of school recently to protest U.S. immigration enforcement policies. All right, Issa, so we saw you out protesting at the Lincoln Memorial in downtown DC roughly 2 weeks ago. Why the need? Why did you feel the need to step out of class and take part in this protest?
Well, one, I like to start with that I am a Moroccan American, so although going out there and capturing people don't really think about how it also affects other immigrants as well, or other people that have been related to immigrants. Or for example, my father, he's a citizen of the United States and has been for the past 24 years, but even now I've been concerned about his safety. So I felt like it was a good thing for me to go out there and share my voice and share my perspective, because in order for things to get heard, you need multiple perspectives, in my opinion.
Yeah. What's it been like for you growing up during this time in America, but also being a teenager in Washington, D.C.?
When I was a kid, I definitely think I wouldn't be here. I thought the world would be 10 times better than how it is now, but unfortunately, that is not the case. Being a teenager, especially in DC, it's a little rough because, there's spaces for children and there's spaces for adults, but there's not really spaces for teens. And when we try to make that space, it becomes a big issue. And it really upsets me, a lot of the time, because it's like, if you don't want us to be here, then where do we go? Because we have no place to go.
Yeah, I know that part of your future goals includes being a lawmaker, some sort of politician or advocate, but specifically speaking up for youth when you are an adult. Why is that part of your path right now and so important to you?
It's important to me because, I've been exposed to so many different traumas as a kid, and, I've been uplifted by so many others that care for youth. And I just want to do it more on a national front. Like for example, I was thinking about this idea pertaining to youth of, how music is a huge part of our city. Like, why don't we start making like free recording studios for like students and teenagers to record music? Like that would be a perfect thing or a perfect solution to, some things that are going on in DC, since we have the issue of not really having a place to call home sometimes.
Yeah, you mentioned being exposed to trauma as a youth. What do you mean exactly?
Growing up in Ward 7 of DC, I definitely wasn't given the proper childhood sometimes because, sometimes I would want to go outside, but it wasn't really safe for me to go outside, especially by myself, with me being an only child and a lot of, coming up in the generation where everything began to go online, I wasn't really able to go outside as much as I wanted to. And even still now, it's a huge risk for me to go out there simply because it's not the dangers of youth, it's just me being prosecuted as somebody who is, under 18. And I'd just rather not go through that at all than have to go through that.
Yeah. And I think it has an impact on you when we talk about young adults and teens in DC. It's always in this negative light to a certain degree. We talk about the juvenile curfew, the video
Right.
you see of teens in DC hanging out at 9, 10 o'clock at night. Then there's a fight. You have the National Guard involved. I take it that doesn't bode well for you as well.
It really doesn't. And when it comes to the National Guard, I feel like the reason why it escalates is because these people are not from DC. They don't understand our culture. And yes, I understand that you're trying to help, but at the same time, you also have to remember we're not adults, we're kids. Kids make mistakes. And that doesn't mean that you should just go out full force on us simply for the fact that we're just trying to live. And with the fights and stuff, it can become a very dangerous situation. But I feel like there's so many different ways to manage or prevent these things from happening. To like, it shouldn't be to the point where we have to go out at 9 or 10 o'clock at night in order for us to, have fun and have fun with other people our age. Like there should be spaces for us if we can't go to these spaces by ourselves or to these spaces at a certain time. And when it comes to the curfew, I understand how parents who are adults might feel when they see youth outside. You're like, where are their parents? But sometimes kids, they need an escape from their parents. Sometimes, not saying that, they should go out in the city, but I'm saying more like, sometimes, cool. I'm trying to think of
You
how I
just
should
want to
say
get
it.
away. It sounds like you just need
Right. You
a
just
moment
need
to.
an outlet, especially if there's something going on at home, which is a lot of the case for a lot of kids nowadays. It's a lot of stuff going on at home.
Yeah. So as a student representative on the Board of Education, what are you telling adults about some of the needs, your needs and also other teens?
Um, Still being an advocate for needing our own spaces away from younger children, but also away from younger adults. I feel like there needs to be spaces all around the city and not just in one specific spot for us teenagers to go. Like I brought up the idea of, the recording studio, because a lot of people, we have a lot of talented musicians in our city. And I feel like it's not talked about. And, we have a lot of culture as well, like pertaining to go-go. And I recently started talking to a few of my peers and friends, and they were talking about how they feel like go-go is becoming a dying breed simply because of the fact that we're not really able to go out and experience our culture like that without being told, oh, where's your parent and da 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 da, because we're under a certain age, because we're under 18.
Yeah, yeah. Issa, thank you so much for being with me. I appreciate this so much in this conversation. Hopefully, the adults are listening and your work, your advocacy will lead to some sort of change.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate you having me.
Yeah, their voices matter. That does it for the DCB. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next Wednesday.